Welcome to the Guide Room, the SoHAD Guide Room, the School of Spirituality, Healing and Development. We're here today with some of the wise guides, Christina.
Hello.
And Deborah.
Hi there.
And the topic of conversation today is stuck and what to do when you're stuck, and also how you can help friends that are stuck. So, wise guides, where do we want to start with this whole idea around stuckness? Perhaps first we should do our puli, so that we don't get stuck.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do it. Puli kako. Na akua na aumakua na paekihiko aloha e mahalo. Aloha kako, aloha ka ua aloha mai. E molokai nui ahina e papahana moko e na kupuna o waramai and all the traditional custodians of the lands upon which we sit. Aloha and mahalo. Now, we come together today in the guide room with some of the SoHAD Wise Guides to discuss an important issue that we often find in our own lives and in the lives of our friends and clients. And that na'akua is about being stuck. When we get stuck in a place and we don't know how to find our way out of it. And sometimes na'akua, as you know, sometimes we don't even know that we're stuck. We ask you to guide this conversation, na'akua, in a way that is helpful and constructive to all who may come to hear. We ask you to shield us and protect us from the prying eyes and ears of the kolohe and the kepolo, who are always waiting to pounce on us, na'akua, and prey on our vulnerabilities. We ask you to shield us, na'akua, so that we don't get stuck ourselves. We ask you, na'akua, for your guidance as we speak these words. We send you our prayers, na'akua, and ask you to share the aloha with all those who need it, even in our own ohanas, our own physical ohana. We send these words to you with sacred and powerful words you have taught to us for more than 50 generations. E amama, e amama, e amama, mahalo na'akua. Okay, wise guides. Let's first start, I guess, with what is it? What is being stuck look like, feel like, sound like, taste like? Who wants to lead off?
I think being stuck is about not knowing what to do, knowing you're in a hole or an unhappy place or frustrated around something, but feeling, and this is your feeling powerless. That doesn't mean it's the reality, but when you're stuck, you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no breadcrumbs to show you the way. You're literally stuck with no way out. In that moment, it feels like there's no other choices, no other opportunities, and no way out. Yeah. Deborah, what does stuck feel like for you?
Yeah, well, or what I can see it as, or interpret it as, the experience of being stuck is absolutely around that energy of feeling powerless, and yet stuckness generates so much energy. It generates so much destructive energy, right? And you can have small bits of stuckness, and you can have huge bits of stuckness. Right, there's kind of what, because there's a gradient structure for stuckness, and people who I observe and experienced as being stuck, if it's big stuck, it's painful. It's a very, very painful. And as a guide, or even as a friend, or you can get drawn into that. Right, it's like a black hole. You can actually get drawn into someone's stuckness because none of us want to see anybody being stuck, because again, the stuckness is a very painful thing to perceive, to watch and experience and witness. And if you're in your own stuckness, sometimes you don't know you're in your own stuckness. I want to give that as an open book. You sometimes don't know you're stuck. It can be a very, very long time before you know you're stuck. Right, hanging your head,
especially if people are repeating the same behavior over and over again. It becomes part of their story. And this is, I'm not stuck. This is just This is just who I am, and I'm this way because of this story and that story and my upbringing, and
everything becomes a fait accompli. Yeah, this is the reason. I give it the reason. And so I would say in a lot of experience from self, and also experience of observing and witnessing others, a lot of the times you don't know you're stuck. And I think somebody comes along and breaks that. You know, something has to knock the stuckness to one side and go, and it's a very brave person that does that, actually.
Can I ask, how is it that we don't know we're stuck?
Is the perpetuator, it's the perpetuation, my experience, the perpetuation of something that becomes a habit, that becomes a serving habit. So we find the servingness in this, the payoff because of it, and the fait accompli. And if that keeps on experience, at some stage you're either going to stay in that pattern, right, with the knowledge that you're in that pattern, or with denying that you're in that pattern. And you are in a, this is the world I live in, and that's how it's going to be.
And I think you're right, there often is a payoff, especially people who have long-term stuckness. The payoff is either attention, it's, that they might get extra nurture or extra caring. Oh, they're there. They get looked after because of the drama of the story. So there is a payoff. They don't have to do necessarily, it's often harder to actually do the work that you need to do to get yourself out of that and to change your limiting beliefs and to change the story, because we're all at choice, right? But there is often a payoff, and I've witnessed for some people, they've had this payoff for decades and decades.
I like what you just said, because I was actually talking about this with another therapist the other day, and some people are addicted to their drama, and it is a very real addiction, as addictive as pill popping or drinking or whatever other addict behavior that you can think of. Because they so highly and deeply identify with that. And we were talking about how, interestingly, more women are addicted to their drama.
That's very interesting.
It is interesting. It's a statistic.
That's interesting.
And a lot of women who are in residential treatment facilities for other comorbid conditions, well, actually for other conditions of addiction, but this is a comorbid condition that exists alongside of it, that often isn't addressed, but it's the feeder into, or one of the feeders, and we would call it one of the, cultural things, one of the arca, one of the chords that connect into it.
That's
and
interesting.
Part of this stuckness is the addiction to the drama.
And it would be
that's just a bit like, oh, sorry, Christina, so that reminds me, if I'm just clarifying that reminds me of, I joined the fire service because I love a fire, but I actually start the fire because I love the fire. In the drama sense.
It'd be interesting to understand the origin of that drama. Is that drama attention-seeking? I mean, clearly it is attention-seeking behaviour because of some sort of perceived neglect or whatever the story is from childhood, that mummy didn't give me enough cuddles, daddy didn't love me, whatever the story is. And we all have those stories. Some of them work through those, deal with them, manage them, and for others it becomes wrapped up in who they are, so they cling on to this drama. And there is this dopamine payoff, right? There is this, and it is very much, as you said, Julia, it is an addiction. So then you end up in this spiral, and it's like being on drugs. And if you didn't have this drama in your life, then life would be pretty dull.
Because what happens is, that's what feeds into the stuckness, because you keep, you can't move on from that. An event may have happened 30 years ago, and maybe that event destroyed the dream or the way you may have thought your life was going to turn out, and it's not the fairy tale that you kind of envisaged for yourself at 18.
Welcome to life. Welcome to life.
But exactly. And so when that gets destabilized or destroyed, it continues to permeate every aspect of your life, because that's that cycle. And the only way that it can feel some level of relevance and self-holding, and it's the negative aspect of it, right, is to keep engaging that cycle, of drama, which is really that cycle of stuckness, which is we hear it in people's language. I feel like I'm on the merry-go-round. Whoa, yes.
Yeah,
you are. You just keep changing from the horse to the, the next thing.
Yeah. But at some point, the pain becomes so great, because typically people only are ready to change when they either acknowledge there's a problem or they're ready to change. And typically that happens when the pain is so great, when it's so uncomfortable, that then they're ready to take that step and choose not stuckness.
Yeah, because as you spoke. Oh, sorry.
So and it's not just the emotional, right? You will physically get a prompt.
Well, my belief system is your body tells you, and thank goodness my body tells me very quickly now, so I have to look at my stuff very quickly.
You get those diseases, that's the stuckness. That's the most horrific stuckness.
Absolutely, it does play out in your body. Absolutely.
And what my concern around stuckness is, and people who get stuck in the drama cycle, or could say trauma, it's because it's deeply traumatizing.
It is
trauma.
And I really want to acknowledge that, right? Is the stuckness becomes a way of self-medicating.
Oh,
I'm just thinking that
hurts.
now.
And it's true, but it hurts.
It does hurt.
Oh, that hurts. That goes like, because it does, isn't it? And you can imagine you can imagine in your stuckness having to rub up against something that's so truthful. It hurts every part of your being. Right.
And that's when it comes to that point where you actually don't want to look. And I think we touched on some of this in one of the previous guide rooms, where it's almost too frightening to look. And that in itself is a mirage. It's a fallacy, because we always build things up to be so much worse than they are if we start making those little steps. But it's about starting to make those steps and believing that there is a different path, and that will be okay if we take a different path, because we get so caught in this stuckness. It's this drug, it's self-perpetuating, you get a payoff, all the things that you were talking about. It's hard to imagine an alternative universe, right? So the person who's stuck creates this universe, this internal world universe, and it's this movie that's playing out this way, and there's no ability to recognize that there is another movie, and all you've got to do is switch to that channel. And it is available to you. It is available to you like on a control. Not quite that straightforward, mind you, but in many ways it is. It's about choice.
Yeah, see, I don't use that word choice myself. I don't like that. I don't know if that's your frame of reference, and I can clearly understand what you're saying. And where I live from, in terms of the traditional teachings, which are me, we don't have the teaching of choice. We're not taught that, because meat or chicken or beef, which do I want? I get stuck in trying to choose. Our traditional teaching is make a decision, and when you get there, however that's going to play out is going to play out, you make another decision, because that way we keep moving, and that's the way we're taught to
you make a decision to move in one direction, and you didn't like it, make another decision.
I think the intention is that about what we're speaking is exactly the same. In making that decision, you have chosen chicken today, but tomorrow you might choose meat, and the day after you might choose tofu, and that's all okay. But you've decided on something. It's movement. You've decided something other than this place of stuckness and pain.
And so my question around all of that is then, what if we were to put that all that we've talked about into the filter, and it filters down, what are the grains here? What's the core, or the deeper level of stuckness? What's at the core of it?
A big chunk of it is limiting beliefs, the stories we've created that we've made true for ourselves, and it's about unpacking some of that. Fear is a big one.
Fear, you're not going to like me, you're not going to love me, I don't look, I'm a different person, I don't, fear of who am I, where's myself in all of that? I would say it's a fear-based.
I can't.
Yeah, or I won't.
I won't, yeah.
because there's lots of energy around, I'm doing it anyway, the rebel energy is always around a little bit of an addiction archetype kind of thing that's going on, but the addict is striving for power over something it can't control. And so being in the stuckness of that is coming back to yourself. I can only control anything to do with me and nothing outside of me.
And I think, fear, well, not I think, I know fear is always at the bottom of it, but it's identifying or the parts of that, the component parts of that fear, which is what makes stuckness really so complex. And I would state that if I was to distill it down, one of the droplets that would come out of that is self-love.
And that's that's very much at the heart of it, which is tied up with I'm not good enough, I'm not capable of, I'll be judged if.
And that's what I'm saying. Beneath that, to me, beneath all those words, if I keep coming down, I get to the, that whole, well, I don't love myself, even if I can't articulate it that way.
Yeah.
And I may use the words that you're putting forward, but I think the essence that's within that is, I don't love myself enough. I don't know how to.
No, hey, hit the bell, ding, ding, ding.
I don't think we know how to.
You don't know
how.
You
hear it all the time. You see all those memes all over social media, lots of gurus talking about it. But how do we self-love?
And that's also very multifaceted, and there's so many aspects to that. First of all, it's about knowing who we are and having a very clear sense of identity. And that goes back to another one of our guide rooms that we discussed before. What are the seeds? I'll use your language, Julie. What are the seeds of my living? And am I honoring those seeds? And for other people, the language might be, what are the values that are important to me? And are those values serving of me? Are they loving of me? And without a firm foundation, anything we stack on top of that is wobbly. We had an earthquake here in Victoria last week. And, if you have strong foundations, if the earth moves, you're fine. But if you don't have a strong foundation and the earth moves, which in life, the earth is always moving, and it all comes back to that.
I think for me, when I look on how do we self-love, I would be looking at some of the real basic hygiene factors of life. Because when you don't know how self-love is for yourself and you have to work that out, You just got to find places where you can acknowledge nurturing and soothing of yourself. And that is so unique for any individual, but it comes back to real basic hygiene factors.
And what if you've never experienced that? What if you've never been loving to yourself and you've got no experience of what it even means to hold yourself? And if you're expecting others to hold you, like if you're in victim mode, you're almost expecting others to hold you, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And that's why this whole idea of stuckness really needs to be respected and understood, because it really means even identifying and saying the words, I'm stuck, is the first step into understanding I need some care.
Yeah.
Because it's the most, what that to me indicates is the most vulnerable parts of yourself are crying out for a voice here. Like they're knocking at the door, you know, let me be seen, let me be known, let me be recognized, you know. And that's why working with someone is absolutely necessary.
Critical.
Because the first step is recognizing, you know, I am in pain, I am in suffering, and this doesn't have to be my norm, because I see other people not, you know, maybe suffering, but not going down the level to the level where I am. And only I know where that level is.
Yep.
And of course, you know, from the outside, everybody else's life looks, you know, champagne and roses and
Thank you, social media. Thank you, social media, for that.
Yeah.
And
isn't life just
that's why I think
dandy?
these kind of conversations are really important to whoever sees it. Because we tend, you know what social media does, and a lot of self-style gurus, and this is, you know, why I really love, and I know it's not for everybody, but I really love having 50 plus generations behind me. You know, I really love that, is because we don't have to make something that it's not. Like stuck is often minimized.
Yeah.
What we're all saying is, hey, Ole, no. If you feel stuck, that is something significant and needs to be held that way, because it's holding your significance. And it doesn't have to be the black hole of I'm unworthy and I'm not lovable, and so I may take, you know, I may check out, because that's the reality here, right?
Yeah.
People either check out or they do something about it.
Yeah.
And checking out doesn't necessarily mean, you know, I take my own life, but I do self-harm.
Well, it's alcohol, it's drugs, it's whatever it is.
That's self-harm and terrible relationships.
Well,
throwing yourself into
it's
work.
emotional abuse of any relationship that you have. Everything's an external, you know, factor, and there is many destructive checking outs in there. 100%.
That's what I'm saying, and it has all those different forms, and that's why I really think it's an important conversation that we're having. You know, to help identify that and to acknowledge it.
The other thing to acknowledge through all of this is unfortunately in the online age, there's a huge amount of programs out there saying, just do this 1 3-hour workshop and you will be saved.
Next.
Just do this hypnotherapy course, pay me $1,000 and I will clear you of any of your limiting beliefs. You know, it's so dangerous.
I hope you weren't making a sign across it.
I was like,
it's so dangerous, because all of that will just, you know, if it fixes anything, it'll fix the veneer of what's going on, if anything. And it's, you know, all of this takes, I'm going to call it play. I'm not going to call it work. I'm going to call it play. And to go on an adventure of personal discovery and and look for the joy and the gratitude in the change and the growth. it's not going to be solved by a 3-hour or a 1-hour, hypnotherapy. I'll let you can mantra your way out of your stuckness.
I love that. I love that. I like the word like engaging curiosity, because my experience is being stuck and observing and witnessing other people in their stuck. Curiosity is not in their vocab.
No, because they're stuck.
Not curious, because they're stuck, right? So engage curiosity. Let engage curiosity that now leads you to wonder. So because wonder is not usually in your vocab, right? You don't wonder, you're busy wondering about everybody else, but wondering of like, engage the curiosity and the wonder, which is, I don't like using the word child, but like engage the innocence of childhood.
Because when you're stuck, it's like I'll use the analogy of travel. Not many of us are traveling at the moment, but imagine you've never traveled outside wherever it is that you live right now. And it's comfortable and it's familiar and you know where everything is. And the thought of going to a new destination, if you're very comfortable where you are, can be a little bit scary. It's like, I remember the first time when I traveled to Asia decades ago now, it was like you were going to the ends of the earth, and you go there and you kind of go, oh, gee, this is weird. This is a little bit different. It smells different. It looks different. The people are different. But then there's something in there. And then you find yourself coming back again and again and again. And this stuckness can be, if you choose that, if you make a decision, if you choose that path, it can be like that. It's, yes, okay, you're here and it's all very comfortable, but just go and explore somewhere that's a little different. And you may find you really enjoy it over there. But if you never go, you'll never ever know.
I just want to put something here too. Those sort of courses that you talked about, or, working with whoever that is with their magic pill, they may be part of the movement. Yeah. But they're not the totality of the movement. No, it could be the breadcrumb. I just want to put that there is what we're saying, because the movement comes not from the course you do or the person your helper you sit with, but how you take that and put it into place in your life and you live that. Because otherwise you continue to live the wounding and not the healing. Mm-hmm. That's what happens often. Mm-hmm. And because when you live the healing, you get to that point, then a micro change might happen. So doing the same kind of thing may not be what is needed because you've already moved over here. And then the process starts again. So the point is, people use courses and therapists sometimes, and that's why, therapists have to go time out here as part of the medicating process. Yeah. We've all sat in courses with people who have a lot of stuff going on, and they just want to use the course itself to have a place to therapize or feel safe or whatever it is. They walked into their container, so to speak. But the real value is what you do with what you know, consistently, over and over again. That's how we get the movement. That's how we get out of stuck. That's how we start to see ourselves differently. And each one of us sitting here knows that for reals, because we're doing it over and over and over again ourselves. Not the same thing though, Julie. Otherwise, we really would be a trio of stuckness. Let me put this to you. But sometimes that same thing will come around, but the impact of it isn't the same because and you don't get you don't go back down that snake or whatever. That's personal growth. That's what Christina said. You're aware. The awareness levels up.
It's part of personal growth.
But what I'm saying is, I think it's important to draw attention to that. And to be really clear that we're not minimizing those strategies that you're reaching out to help yourself. What we're saying is reach for it, do it, then live it.
Live it. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
I would just say, picking up the word of Christina, is don't believe somebody else when they say they can fix you. It's like
the work starts here. I guess my point was more, there's no silver bullet in this. There's not a pill you can take or a one session that you can do. It may awaken you, it may open your eyes, absolutely. But I guess my point is, this is a lifelong choice of personal growth, and it's something I do with joy. It's something I do that fulfills me, and it's my commitment for as long as I live. So I guess more my point was, don't get caught up in a promise of a silver pill or a silver bullet, or it's more, it is a joyous journey, and choose that joyous journey. Make the decision and make it part of your life's work, because traveling is so much fun. Trying out new things is actually fun.
So is that how you would work with someone who presents to you with, that calls you up and goes, hey, Christina, I'm just feeling really stuck?
Well, look, you can't answer that question in this kind of environment, because it's so complex in terms of what's going on for that person in that moment, and what else is going on in their life, and what are other issues that are playing in. You have to work with whatever comes, but it is a journey. You know, it's a journey that takes a little bit of time, and people have to be prepared to make those micro changes, because it's not going to happen in a big bang. It's little micro changes that take you to a place where all of a sudden you look back and went, I was over there. Now I'm over here. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And it's about making it safe, and about working with the person at their pace. Some may be, I know I've turned up to sessions and I've gone, I've got this and this and this and this, and I know my issue's this, and and it's like I've been ready, and the person's worked with me in a particular way, and it's been my aha moment. And I know other times it's taken me 2 years to get from one destination to another. So it really, there's no one size fits all. We're all complex human beings. None of us are the same. We're all unique. We have our own unique stories. We work as humans, we learn and grow in different ways. And it's about connecting in with whatever is there right here, right now, and the energy that's there right here, right now. There is no one size fits all.
What about you, Deborah? If someone called you up and said, hey, Deborah, I'm feeling really stuck in my stuff, where would you go with that?
Where would I go with that is in trying to provide a safe space to find out if that person actually wants to work with you as an assistant, right? If somebody wants to come in, am I the person for you? Let's have a chat. But absolutely create the safe space, the container to do that. Have a conversation about what brought you here, because there's the intention for that individual, right? What brought them to me to even have this conversation in the beginning? It's the seat of compassion. It's the seat of care. Is finding out immediately what self-care things can that individual do for themselves in order to take the next step, because it's all about just taking the next step. Just take one step at a time. Just take the next step. Talk about it, work on it, understand the feelings around it, understanding in what context can that person take the next step? What are they willing to do to take the next step? But absolutely the biggest job here when somebody comes to you with stuckness, with any problem, but with stuckness, is you create the safe space for them to be able to disclose and address that. And it may not end up being the right person, right? That's the whole point about the great things about the Wise Guides is you might enter here, but the space is bigger than my space. The Wise Guide space is like, I recommend that you might go and see another Wise Guide who's more proficient at this and that, not the one. So it's open the door, create the space, let the person come into the space, understand where they are, and let's see where they goes from there. But there is plenty of safe space here. There's plenty of safe space anywhere, but in this Wise Guide room with the Wise Guide, there is plenty of safe spaces and there's plenty of open doors.
And my take on it too is, there comes that time in our life where we have to understand that the time has come to draw the line in the sand with ourselves, because our teachings, and I'm talking about my cultural teachings, our lineage teachings, healing is also self-discipline. Because, you may want to hold it more lightly, and that's when our courses, the ones that I teach anyway, say to everybody, hold it light as a feather, light as a feather. But it is still about self-discipline. And we all the teachers of my lineage say the same thing. When people present with something to us, we come from it from that perspective. Don't believe us. Go and find that out for yourself, which is part of the process of healing. So, this is to your point, Christina, about the magic bullets. When people come to us, if I do these courses and I engage in these teachings, will this happen for me? I can't tell you that. I can only give you what the teachings tell you, and I can guide you to apply them. And then if you apply them and your own things start to transform and come to the surface, which is the point, then I can say, go to Christina, go to Deborah, go to Mark, or whoever may be the most appropriate for you. You've got to do the hana. You've got to do that inner work, because you've got to love yourself enough to do it. And for people that are spiritually inclined, this is what we say to everyone. The most important relationship you have in your life is the one you have with spirit. Spirit first, because if that's in place, everything folds out of that. Every single thing. And that's the foundation. So that's what we would offer you today when we talk about this stuckness. And if you find yourself feeling stuck, we would encourage you to reach out to one of us, to any of the Wise Guides, as a first stop, because we will help you find the right direction. We will help you find a space that is safe for you and help you to have somewhere to put that stuckness for now, so you can move. You can take the next step. We hope to see you again in the guide room in a couple of weeks' time. We'll let you know what that topic is. We're not sure ourselves yet. We have to work that out. We've got a long list. We say puli for it, prayers, and the ancestors will tell us what needs to be discussed. Until next time, ahui ho, Christina.
Yachikoham.
Karuti.
Mahalo.